Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today, of course, we are talking about iPadOS 27, which is in developer beta today and will be going into public beta probably in a month or so. And for the first time after so many false starts, we finally get to see and talk about new Siri, as well as other Apple Intelligence improvements. So let's start with supported models. iPadOS 27 does drop support for the following iPads: the 8th generation iPad, the 5th generation iPad mini, the 3rd generation iPad Air, and the legendary 2018 iPad Pros, both 12.9-inch and 11-inch sizes. Now let's jump into what's actually new. So of course we have to start this with the new Siri. We've been waiting a long time to see this, so let's not wait any longer. When you upgrade to iPadOS 27, at least on the developer beta, there's actually a waitlist for the new Siri. When you go into settings and you go down to what was once Apple Intelligence in Siri and is now just Siri, there'll be a toggle for opting in to the new Siri experience, and then you get placed on a waitlist. So I've turned on the new Siri and I've gotten approved. So you can of course invoke it by holding down the side button, but what I like to do is kind of tap and hold at the top here and pull down the kind of a combined Spotlight and Siri interface. So I can start asking queries here, just like we did in the old Type to Siri interface. So what's the weather in Barbados? And you can see, just kind of like Spotlight on the Mac, we are getting rich suggestions even before I invoke the assistant here. Got that new interface, kind of the orb at the top, and we get a weather report just like you would expect. I will note that I'm finding it, at least in this first beta, kind of tricky to get to Notification Center and not Siri. For Control Center, of course, you can swipe from the right side, and I imagine you're probably supposed to be able to swipe from the left, but it's a little tricky, sorry. Okay, so let's try something a little bit harder. I'm planning a Super Bowl party. What kind of food should I serve?
For a Super Bowl party, the most popular foods are wings, dips, sliders, and chili. These items are typically handheld, shareable, and easy to eat while watching the game.
You'll see there's a grabber here at the bottom. I can expand this response because there's often a lot more that Siri wants to say. And of course, as you'd expect from a modern assistant, I can ask follow-up questions. Show me some recipes for wings.
Some of the most popular chicken wing flavor profiles include classic buffalo, garlic parmesan, and sweet and spicy Asian-style glazes. Period. You can bake, fry, or grill them depending on your preference and equipment. This answer is from Recipe Girl Calm, MarthaStewart.com, and other sources.
Okay, sorry that was longer than I expected, but you get the idea. So now I'm in this interface and I want to keep going, but maybe not here. Tapping on the arrows is going to bring you to the new standalone Siri app. You can see I've already done a few conversations on the side here, and just like in the Claude app or the ChatGPT app, my old conversations are here, and I can go back to them if I want to keep going on a particular topic. You'll also note that to sync your conversations across devices, this is using iCloud, and on this account, I don't have any iCloud storage left, so I'm going to get this nice banner here that I can't dismiss the entire time I'm using this, and that is just fun. Going back to settings real quick, if we go into Siri and then app, here's where you configure how long your conversations actually stick around. Your options are 30 days, 1 year, or forever, and forever for me was selected by default. You can change that as you wish. You can also change what the app opens to, your list of conversations or a new conversation. So now let's switch to a different iPad. With the new features coming in iPadOS 27, you're going to want the right accessories to help you get the most out of your iPad. And that's where Moft comes in with their dynamic folio case. Now this is a case that matches the versatility of the iPad, by offering a variety of different angles. So for example, I'm a big fan of using the iPad in portrait, and there's a position that's great for using your iPad in portrait orientation where you can be working on a document or reading a long PDF. There's another position that's great for working at your desk. It's a great position to take advantage of features like using Apple Intelligence to reorganize your notes, or using the Apple Pencil combined with visual intelligence to circle items in a screenshot that you want to look up with Siri. There's even a dual screen configuration where you can pull your iPhone in and use it as a reference, for example, if you're taking lecture notes. And of course, because this is an iPad, there is another position that is great for kicking back and catching up on your favorite show or movie. Make sure to click the link in the description to get the Dynamic Folio and use my discount code for 10% off. And my thanks to Moft for their support. So for this part of the demo, it's going to work better if I have an iPad with actual iCloud storage and a faster SoC. So one of the ways I use Claude, for example, is for proofreading my blog posts. So what I'll do oftentimes is take one of my drafts, open it in Claude, say proofread, spelling and grammar only, preserve links. So as you can see, the assistant does that now, and it's doing that pretty well. The next thing I would do then would be to tell it to export to Markdown, since I keep everything in Markdown. Strangely, it's grabbing more than one note here, which is not what I wanted, but again, this is beta 1, so bugs are expected. I picked the one that I wanted to export, but I actually need this in Ulysses, since that's what I'm using for my writing. What I will say then is send this to Ulysses. I'll find that app. Sometimes this is quick, sometimes this is incredibly slow. And it opened Ulysses, but it apparently didn't know how to send it. So I'm going to try it one more time. No, I'm just saying this, send this to Ulysses. I'm not specifying the same file again. I'm expecting Siri to remember what we're doing. And you probably couldn't see this behind here, but here's the document, the proofread document, that it exported to Ulysses for me. So definitely some beta 1 kind of rough edges here, but you can see the potential of what Siri can do now. One of the interesting uses I've found as a pseudo content creator is that sometimes I want to show something using a sample document or sample text of some kind. Usually I have to go find a website to generate that for me, but now I can just use Siri. So for example, generate a sample note with some dummy data.
I've created a new note titled Sample Note with some dummy data for you.
Add 5 paragraphs of lorem ipsum text to it.
I've added 5 paragraphs of lorem ipsum text to your sample note.
Let's go in there. I'm in my note here, and we can see that it actually did do that. Let's keep going though. Maybe I want it to be really long. I need 3 times as much text in this note.
I've updated your note by duplicating the existing text, giving you 3 times as much content as before.
And one of the rumored features I was most excited about was AI-generated shortcuts. I don't know how much time you guys spend in the Shortcuts app, but I find that even if you know what you're doing, it's kind of a pain to work with. So this should be a huge improvement. Let's see what that looks like. Instead of going to the editor, like you normally would when creating a shortcut, I'll hit the plus here, and I'll get an interface that wants me to enter a prompt. So I'm going to enter, let's say, pull a random image from Bing image of the day and set it as my, if I can type it, wallpaper. Okay. Apple Intelligence is going to go to work here. This is on an M1 iPad Pro, by the way, with 8 gigabytes of RAM. Just so you can gauge that from a performance perspective. It's finding the actions. Okay. And I can even tell it looks like, which wallpaper I want it to set. So we'll do the one we'll do this one. This is the last one, so I know which one it is. And now the shortcut's created. It'll fetch the Bing image of the day, grab the image URL, download it, and set it as my wallpaper. And I actually can go into the editor here and see what steps it's performing, if you're interested in that. I honestly don't care, I just want it to work. So we've got our wallpaper now, let's try running it. I want to check just to prove this is really working. So here's the wallpaper, it should be changing. Go back into Shortcuts, run my set Bing wallpaper shortcut. I have to give it permissions. Give it permission to set the wallpaper. And in theory, it's done. So let's see what we have. That wallpaper changed to this jellyfish wallpaper, which is fine. Automatically takes the blurred setting for my home screen wallpaper. And it did it without me having to do much work. Now this isn't perfect. Ultimately, the actions that the shortcuts perform need to be exposed to the system. If they're not, it's still not going to work. So for example, I think auto brightness used to be in display settings, and now it's kind of buried in accessibility. So I would like a shortcut to quickly turn on auto brightness. I want a shortcut to turn on auto brightness. Really thinking on this one. Okay, and in this case, it's not able to do that at all. And I think that's because the auto brightness setting in particular is not exposed as an action to the system. And I can go to the editor, but like I already knew, there is no auto brightness action. I can set an individual brightness level, but I can't toggle auto brightness. So it's not perfect, but if you've never gotten into shortcuts, I think this is going to be the time you want to jump in and see what things you can actually automate, especially as developers are building more app intents to expose pieces of their apps to the shortcut system and let you automate things. So I've been complaining for a couple years now, pretty much since they introduced visual intelligence on the iPhone, that Apple needs to bring it to the iPad. And while this isn't quite what I was asking for, there's no improvements to the camera app, for example, regarding visual intelligence. We do get a little bit of it in regards to on-screen visual intelligence. So for example, if I were to take a screenshot here of this apple.com page, you notice at the bottom we have a visual intelligence interface like I think you get on the iPhone, where you can either ask the AI what's in this image or search for things that you highlight. So using my Apple Pencil, for example, well, apparently that's not working right now. This is beta 1. So we're going to excuse that. But in theory, you could do like a circle to search here, tap, and get some results. It's apparently not working right now. But if I were to ask the AI, I want to type this out. What products are in this image? It'll reach out, presumably to Google, because that's how that works on the iPhone. And it noted a MacBook, an iPhone, an iPad, Apple Watch, and a Vision Pro. I can pull this down. It even has some additional detail around the WWDC 26 preview, which is nice. All right, let's try a different example. Maybe this will work a little better. So here's a random image. Random images from an African safari. We're going to, again, grab a screenshot. Bring up the interface here. Try circling this guy. Enable automatic image search. Sure, let's go for it. And Google's still not available. So that we'll hopefully be able to see in later betas. That's not working. What is this? Going up to the cloud, presumably. Okay. Web page for yellow zebra safaris. You can pull that down, get some additional information, links, all that good stuff. If I expand this, this should take me to the Siri app, which it does. And I can continue that conversation here at some point down the line. Apple Intelligence also gets improvements in the Photos app. So if I were to take this image, we could take a look at that. Seinfeld fans will probably recognize this image. If I tap on Edit at the top here, you'll see at the bottom we have a Tools button with the Apple Intelligence symbol. It gives us a couple more tools beyond just cleanup, which we had before, which is extending an image or reframing an image. Extending an image works just like you think. You're able to zoom out. The space around the image is blurred. I tap extend, and the system will work to generate imagery around it, preserving the original image as it was. My photo's been extended. Doesn't look too bad, to be honest, so that's kind of cool. Reframing is kind of interesting. So I'll tap reframe, image will get scanned, and I can pan around and rotate. But I can also just, I don't know if you can see his face here. So this is just kind of, with no depth information in this image, I think it's doing the best he can, but from my vantage point, this looks kind of frightening. But if you had an image taken with a modern iPhone, I think this would look a little bit better and not horrific. But this gives you at least an idea of what that feature looks like. For those of us using our iPads with an external monitor, I'm happy to report in iPadOS 27 you can finally access Control Center right from your display. Like we saw in the onboarding, there is a system-wide option to control liquid glass. And Apple has a nice example here of how that'll look. I know in the past some people have complained of readability issues, and now you will have the option to have more control over that. there's this control that lets you choose between clear and, I don't know, frosted across the system to make it easier for those who need it to be able to actually read the controls they're interacting with. Now, I'm crazy. I'm going to keep it all the way or pretty close to clear because I like that full liquid glass effect, but it's not for everyone, and so I'm glad there's this option here for you to change it if you need to. There are a couple things going on with the menu bar in this release. First, if I pull up Safari here, you'll notice that the menu bar is no longer centered, it is more left-aligned, I guess similar to macOS in that regard. The second thing is, if you go into settings, you have the option to automatically hide the menu bar. And what hiding does is it actually collapses each of the menu items into the app name itself. So I've got the menu items here in settings. I'll toggle that option on, and you'll see that they've disappeared into the app name. If I tap on that or bring my mouse over it, they come back. I can access the menu items, and then they disappear. It's probably also worth noting that the menu items themselves, if you remember in iPadOS 26, all of them had icons next to them, which I thought looked pretty cool. But after some complaints from the Mac community, you see that Apple has, unfortunately on iPadOS, also removed some of the icons that were next to the menu items as well. So now some of them have them, like these three at the bottom here, and some of them don't, which is a little strange to me, but it's another case of the squeaky wheel getting the cheese. In the Settings app, you'll notice that as you're tapping on the individual sections, not only do they get highlighted, but the text is now also being bolded, so it's easier to see what you've selected. And speaking of sidebars, I'll show you this. You can see this here in Settings, but also in the Files app. If I pull that up, you can see the sidebar contents used to be kind of rounded inside the sidebar area, and now they extend all the way to the edge, just like they do now on macOS. I know that look bugged people for some reason. I didn't mind it, but that's been a uniform change made across iPadOS and macOS. Well, that's going to do it for this one. Much more to come on iPadOS 27 as the betas continue over the summer and we get to that final release coming this fall, probably in September. As always, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you. I appreciate you and your time. If you could like the video and subscribe to the channel, that would help me and the channel out a bunch. Make sure to visit slatepad.org for more written content and news about iPad and iPadOS. And with that, I will catch you all in the next one. Thank you, and take care.